Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock. It's a Friday. It's time for a video. Today, I'm going to be doing a video all about Got Talent shows. All about Got Talent, whether that be America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent. This is a video that has been requested over and over and again, both on the Netflix Discord, in the Q&As on the channel on Magic TV, and also in the VMCs that I do, where I do like Q&As in the VMCs, Virtual Magic Clubs, as part of the Netflix. This question comes up over and over again, which is, if I was planning on doing a Got Talent show, what should I do to make sure that I do well? What can I expect? Now, it's an interesting thing for me to answer because I've never done a Got Talent myself. There's millions of them, isn't there, all over the world? Not just America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent, Canada's Got Talent, Japan's Got Talent. There's so many of them. If you look on Wikipedia, there's like about 100. And everybody all over the world, every magician is kind of like, you know what, I want to do Got Talent because that's what's going to make me a superstar. That's going to make me famous. I've never done a Got Talent before, ever. However, Ryland, my son, entered Britain's Got Talent in 2022, auditioned, went through to the semi-finals and came fourth in the semi-finals. Didn't actually go through to the finals, but did really well. And then obviously this year he did AGT. He flew over to LA, did the auditions, then got invited back to the semi-finals and did the semi-finals. And you know, I've worked with Jasper on the All Stars. Jasper Cherry, amazing guy. I've also spoken many times to Aidan McCann. I'm really good friends with Killian and his wife, his mom Elaine, and his dad. And I know a lot about Got Talent. And as well as all of that, I'm really good friends with Russ Stevens, who, to be honest, was one of the biggest things to happen to Got Talent for magicians ever in the entire history of Got Talent, as far as I'm concerned. So although I've never done it myself, I have got a unique insight of what happens. And so this question comes up again and again, I think a lot of the time because of what Ryland's done. So I wrote down a whole bunch of notes, and these are going to be in no particular order. These are just things over the last week or so that I've thought of, that if I was giving somebody advice about going on a Got Talent show, this is the advice I would give people. These are the points that I would make. So they're in no particular order, and it's not based on my own personal experience of entering a Got Talent show myself, but it's based on, you know, the last 2 or 3 years of having a lot of experience working with acts behind the scenes and, you know, seeing how Russ Stevens approaches things, who, as I say again, I'll say it, is a genius. I've got an interesting insight. So hopefully some of you guys will find these points useful, but these are in answer to everyone's questions, this is the advice I would give somebody if they're planning on going onto a Got Talent show. As I said, this is in no particular order, so I'm going to tick these off as I go through them. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is this one here at the bottom. Know why you're doing the Got Talent show. Know why you're doing it. What is your reason to go on Got Talent? Is it to be, is it to go on and just get on TV to get more people to know who you are? Is it about building up your social media and getting more followers? Is it about having that show reel, having that moment where everyone stands up in the audience so you can put that into your show reel? Is it about wanting to actually win and become, you know, the winner of Britain's Got Talent or the winners of America's Got Talent? Why are you planning on entering? Because I ask this question to people that ask me this question an awful lot. I say, why do you want to enter? And a lot of people haven't got an answer. They go, oh no, it'd be a really cool thing to do. Now, some people have an answer. They're like, hey, I want to be world famous, or whatever the case may be, and that's absolutely well and good. But a lot of the time, people don't have an answer to that. They don't know why they're wanting to enter a Got Talent. They just like the idea of it. I think it's really important to understand why you're wanting to go on that Got Talent, because then a lot of the decisions that you'll make along the way will be based on what you're ultimately wanting to or hoping to get out of it. Okay, so the next point I'm going to make is get stage experience. I see a lot of people that go on Got Talent that don't actually get through, and I ask them what they do, and they go, oh yeah, I did an ambitious card, and I say, okay, well, how much experience have you had on stage? And they're like, well, none, but I approached the desk. I think it's really important to have stage experience. I can't tell you how nerve-wracking it is going out on that stage. America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent. You're walking out in front of thousands and thousands of people. That is a stage environment. Now, you might do close up. Your audition might be all close up. It might be that you've got a table set up on the stage, and you're inviting people up onto the stage to sit with you at the table. It might be that you're walking down to approach the judge's desk and doing close up at the judge's desk, but you've still got the factor that you're doing it in front of thousands and thousands of people. And if you get through to the live rounds, you're doing it live to the nation. That's very, very nerve-wracking. It really is. And I think that you need to have stage experience. You know, I've spoken to magicians and they've said, oh yeah, I'm a close-up magician. I perform close-up. I've done, 20 people here or 30 people here or 40 people here. And I'm not saying that can't be done. I'm not saying you can't be a close-up magician and then be successful on Got Talent. But I think if you want to give yourself the best possible chance of doing well, then you have to try and be as not nervous as possible. And the way to deal with that is by having experience walking out onto that huge stage. There is a massive, massive world of difference between performing on stage and performing to 7 or 8 people in a strolling gig. And what's the thing that a lot of the judges always say? We want things bigger. We want things bigger than ever before. And that's not always the case, because you look at people like Shin Lim, who did a lot of close-up stuff, but a lot of the time the judges have in their heads, I want it bigger, I want it bigger. So, get stage experience before you perform on any Got Talent. Okay, so the next point that I'm going to make is be unique, or try to be as unique as possible. Try to do stuff that not everybody... Don't forget, America's Got Talent's been running for like 18 years. Britain's Got Talent's been running for 15 years. These shows have been going a long time, and there's been magicians auditioning on every single season. So the judges have seen a lot of magic. The people in the audience that are there, they've seen a lot of magic. You want to try and do something unique. You want to try and do something a little bit different. And you want to ideally, if possible, unless you've got something very unique, you want to stay away from playing cards. And that's something that I've heard on both America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent. The judges are sick to death of card tricks. Now, you can get around that by doing something incredible. Look at Eric Chen, for example. Look at Shin Lim, who's literally won everything there is to be won on those Got Talent shows. He went in and did card magic, but it's unlike any type of card magic they'd seen before. We all know Shin Lim's style, Eric Chen's style. Don't think that you can go in with an ambitious card and just kind of go through to the next round, because a lot of the time when the judges hear card trick, they're kind of switched off, and it's going to be very difficult to get them back on side. I would stay away from card tricks, and I'd try and do stuff excuse me, that's as unique as possible. So you look at Ryland, for example, because that's where my experience is. You look at Ryland, and when he went on Britain's Got Talent, his audition was obviously the cube wall, which was not really ever been seen before to that point. Same with the semi-final, but same with AGT as well. You want to try and make things as unique as possible, make it different, so that you have a good chance to impress the judges. And you want to be able to do that as quickly as possible. If you walk out and you go, hey, I'm going to do a card trick, even if it turns into something a little bit different later on, you've not made a great first impression. So try to be unique, try to stay away from card tricks. And talking about that, we've got another point. So the next point is, you have a very short period of time to create a first impression. The judges are not in on this at all. They're really not. I know I see it online going, oh, the judges are in on it. No, they're not. I can tell you now, from the amount of times I've seen Ryland do Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent, they're not in on it. They have no idea what the acts are doing. And they, especially in the auditions, they're going to be happy to buzz people. They need acts that aren't going to do very well. So the way to actually make sure that you don't get buzzed is by making sure that you are making a first impression very, very early on. If you walk out and you go, right, okay, I'm going to have somebody pick a card. Can you take these cards, Simon, and shuffle them for me, please? Very good. He's going to shuffle the cards. Now you take this pen and hold on to this pen. It's kind of nothing's happening. You want to grab people's attention straight away. Look at Jasper Cherry's audition. He's the perfect example. When he went on Britain's Got Talent, he walked out and he said, hey, you're probably sick to death of card tricks. That's why I'm going to teach you a trick, and with a handkerchief. And immediately he addressed the elephant in the room, and then he did something that had never been seen before. And that goes back to being unique. Now, Silk to Egg, every magician's seen it. It's been around since time began. But when Jasper did Silk to Egg on Britain's Got Talent, it had never been done on Got Talent before. The judges hadn't seen it. So it's really important to create that first impression and address the elephant in the room straight away to stop those judges from buzzing. And on the subject of Silk to Egg never being seen on Got Talent before, let's move on to the next point. The next point is do research into previous seasons to have a look at what they've seen. It's all on YouTube. Go and look. Go on Wikipedia, find all of the magicians that auditioned and go and look at their acts and look at what they did and steer clear of anything that's been done before. Try to do something unique. Try to do something different. It doesn't have to be a big, massive illusion as long as it's something that they've never seen before. And that comes from doing research. Jasper did Silk to Egg. It's as old as the hills, but no one's ever seen it before, at least on that Got Talent show. So you want to try and do some research. Really, if you're going to do this, you want to go all in and you want to look at the best possible act that you can present. And a lot of that comes down to research, looking at what's been done before and trying to make sure that what you do is completely different to anyone else. Okay, so the next step is be prepared. You know, if you've made the decision that you're going to go on Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent or one of the other Got Talents, and you've done your research and you think you've found something unique and, you know, you've got stage experience, you've got this act, don't go out and do, especially in the auditions, don't go out and do something that you've never done before. Don't do that. Don't go and do something you've never done before because you're going to get more. It's already going to be a nerve-wracking situation going out in front of thousands of people to be judged by 4 people that you know have buzzers in front of you and could buzz you at any moment. That's a nerve-wracking situation. Knowing that that could eventually end up on some sort of TV show if you did get buzzed, it's very nerve-wracking. This is not the time to be trying new material. If you've got this act that you think would be perfect for Got Talent, but you've never worked it before, for God's sake, don't go and do it for the first time on Got Talent. Take a year or take 6 months and perform it everywhere. Go and put it in every single one of your shows. Go and put it in go and do as many free shows as you can. Go and do some comedy clubs or some old people's homes or something. But get experience doing that because the more time that you perform the act, the better it will be. Never, ever have I ever put something together for myself and it's been as good the 100th time as it was the first time. It always gets better. It always gets better. And the first time, I always have this idea in my head and it never works out when I first do it. And you learn so much from flight time. You learn so much from repetition. Even if you're an experienced stage performer, don't go and try and do something brand new the first time that you go and do those auditions. You want to have been prepared and work that act in. Okay, so the next point is don't expect to be on the show. Here's the thing that people don't understand, and I see a lot of people moaning about this. They audition, their audition goes well, they get 4 yeses, but they end up not being shown on TV. You have to understand that going and auditioning, even getting a great reaction from the audience and getting a great reaction from the judges doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be shown on TV or that you'll get through to the next round. There's lots of people auditioning. There's thousands of acts audition for every Got Talent every year. It is impossible for every single act to be shown in the auditions phase. So what the people that make the show do is they're looking for the best acts or the ones that have a story to tell or the ones that are interesting or maybe the ones that haven't done very well, whatever it may be. If you've gone on and done a great job, don't be mad or sad if you haven't got shown. It just means that your performance doesn't necessarily fit with the narrative that they're trying to show this year. Because here's the thing, the Got Talent that you're auditioning on, their job is to make the best possible TV show that they can out of the auditions that have come through over the course of that year. And you might be amazing, you might have had a great reaction from the audience, but it might not be something that's appropriate for that year. Likewise, if you are shown on TV and you get 4 yeses, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get through to the next round. It doesn't automatically guarantee, because loads of people are going to get 3 or 4 yeses. Only, like in America, I think it's 55, it's less in the UK, but not everybody's going to go through to the live rounds. So just because you've got 4 yeses, don't be disappointed if you haven't made it through. If you've auditioned and you've done well, don't be disappointed if your act hasn't been shown on TV. It just means that it's not necessarily what they're looking for that season. Don't let it put you off. You might want to go and try again. But I see so many magicians bitching and moaning that they, spent all of their time and effort trying to get onto it, and they did really well and have not been shown, and it's a fix. It's not a fix. It just means that your particular act, for some reason, didn't make the cut. Just go back and try and do it again if it's something that you still want to do. Okay, so the next thing that I'd say is, here we go. Remember, it's a risk. You have to understand that going on any Got Talent is a risk. It's risk versus reward. And that's why you need to understand why you're doing this in the first place. You've got to ask yourself a question, and I take a lot of risks all the time. You've got to ask yourself a question. What is the best case scenario of appearing on Got Talent? Well, you could win $1 million, right? Or be on the Royal Variety Show, whichever it is that you're going to do. What's the best case scenario? And then what's the most likely scenario? And then what's the worst case scenario? Well, the worst case scenario is probably you're going to get buzzed and they're going to say not very nice things about you. What's the most likely scenario? That you get 4 yeses and you go through? What? I don't know. You need to ask that yourself. And then you need to ask yourself is, if the worst case happens and you get buzzed, whatever it may be, can you live with that? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a competition and nobody's in control of what the judges do. And a lot of the time, their attitude towards stuff very much changes from year to year and from all the other acts that they've seen on TV before. So, for example, the year that Ryland did Britain's Got Talent, he did Rubik's Cubes. And he presented it in a very unique way, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but he presented it in a very unique way, and he got 4 yeses, and everything was amazing. The following year, you had a couple of people going out with Rubik's Cubes, including one guy setting himself on fire, and you heard Amanda in the audience, in the judge's desk going, "Oh, I'm sick of Rubik's Cubes." Well, you never know. It might have been because there were a lot of Rubik's Cubes acts that have auditioned that year. It might have been that, there's a million different reasons as to why they're going to make a decision as to what's great and what's not so great. And you can't control it. It's a total risk. You have to decide whether you can live with that risk. Okay, the next point is presentationally, you want to try and make something as unique as possible. Very, very important. Presentationally, you want it to be used as unique as possible. And we're going to talk about Russ Stevens in a bit, but with Ryland's audition, and you saw him having all of the kids in the YMC involved when he did the cube wall, and the music was playing, and he was running around and touching them on the shoulder, and then they were putting the cubes in. That was all developed, and I mean, Russ Stevens it was his vision. I mean, it was absolutely amazing, right? And that's an example of taking a trick that everybody was doing at the time. Nobody had done it on TV, but it had been done an awful lot and everybody was doing it the same way, and saying, well, okay, there's this cube wall trick. How can you make it bigger? Well, by getting all of these kids involved and having all of them mix up Rubik's Cubes, that makes it bigger. And a lot of the time, a magician is just one person standing on stage. How do you make that act bigger? Well, you look at somebody like Cillian O'Connor, who killed it on Britain's Got Talent this year. And he made it bigger in the semi-finals by having that wonderful moment where the silk flew across the audience and the thing where he vanished into confetti. It was great. It was so well structured. It really was. And that's a perfect example of making things bigger. Ryland's act, a perfect example of making things bigger, making things unique, making things different. And that's what you have to do. You have to try and think presentationally. Don't just go and do a deal-a-dem. Don't just get a trick and do it the same way as everyone else. Think about how you can make this unique, and think about how you can take the smallest trick and make it play on the biggest stage. The next point I want to make is musicality. I really think that you need to have music playing throughout your performance, even if you're doing close-up magic. Whatever you're doing, I think you need music, and you'll see that in a lot of the acts on Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent, a lot of the magic acts, especially ones that Russ Stevens has been involved in, you'll see that the music behind fits what's going on. And I think that's really important. Music, kind of having that musicality, even if you're doing close-up, just brings everything up a notch, or brings everything up a couple of notches. And a lot of the time, it takes months to find that right piece of music that fits your act. And if you haven't got the right piece of music, it might not play as well as it would do if that music was in place. So musicality and understanding having the right music, regardless of the type of magic that you're doing, is very important. The next point is to get help with your act. Like, yes, you can audition for Britain's Got Talent, but if you think you've got a really unique act and it's very, very different, reach out to somebody like Russ Stevens. Russ has worked with some of the best acts that have gone through Britain's Got Talent. Reach out to him and say, hey, I've got an act. I think it's perfect for Britain's Got Talent. Can I sit down and chat to you about it? If you're going on to America's Got Talent, you might want to speak to somebody like Brent Braun. You might want to speak to somebody like myself. I don't know. I've worked with a lot of acts on America's Got Talent. You want to reach out to somebody who can sit down and look at your act and go, well, you know what? I'd do this. I wouldn't do this. I'd do this. This is what I'd do, not this. There's a lot of people that have been consultants on various Got Talent shows. You look at somebody like Lewis Lavelle. You look at somebody like Justin Miller, Brent Braun. The list goes on and on. You can hire an external consultant, or you can reach out to somebody like a Russ Stevens. And honestly, if you're in the UK or you're planning on entering Britain's Got Talent, the best piece of advice I can give you, forget about the rest of this video, the best piece of advice I can give you is to reach out to Russ Stevens and chat through your ideas with him, because he will be completely honest with you and tell you exactly. He's blunt. He's so blunt. He'll tell you exactly whether the act is right or not for Britain's Got Talent. You know, we have this resource in the UK. We absolutely should use him. Okay, the next point is be prepared to work hard. I'm telling you right now, it's hard work. It's stressful, it's nerve-wracking, and you know, you have to put months and months of rehearsals in to make sure that you know this act inside out, back to front, upside down. You can't just go, I'm going to audition and turn up and just take your close-up bag with you and just figure it out on the day. That's not going to work. You have to, like I said before, you have to be prepared, but also you have to be prepared to work hard. This is going to be the hardest thing that you've ever done, and you can't even guarantee the results. But you know, you look at where Shin Lim is now. You look at where Richard Jones is now. You look at where people like Magical Bones and Mark Spellman, some of the people that have done really well on Got Talent, you can see where they are. And a lot of the time, you know, it's the amount of work they've put behind the scenes is such hard work. So be prepared to work hard. The next point I'd say is think about your character, or think about something that's going to make you unique. Think about all the acts that have ever done really well on any Got Talent show. A lot of them have a unique character to them. So you look at, okay, let me give you some examples. Mark Spellman, it was all about his relationship with his kids and his wife the first time he went on. The second time, you had the mysterious aura. The acts that people remember are normally the acts where it's very unique, it's very different. You look at the Witch on Britain's Got Talent. You look at the Phantom on Britain's Got Talent. There's two perfect examples of acts that work really, really well and are very, very memorable. Half of the time, it's about making things really memorable, right? That's so important. You look at Richard Jones, and you know, he had that military persona that he was bringing out and bringing in front of him, and it's about having that persona and trying to make you a personality that people can root behind, right? If you just come out as this generic guy that wears a suit and your name's Bob and you're from Birmingham, that might not work. That might not do the job. So think about how to make yourself unique, and think about how to make your character unique as well. So unless you're working with a consultant or you're working with somebody like Russ Stevens, the audition is all on you. So when we went to do America's Got Talent, you know, we were working with a producer there, but they weren't giving us any help or any advice at all. They were literally, right, okay, you've got your audition, what is it? This is what we're doing. Okay, brilliant, yeah, okay, great. There was no help there. There was no support in any way, shape or form. It was all put together by us, and we went over there and we just auditioned, or I say we, it was Ryland that auditioned. When you get through to the semi-final, they will help you, because when it comes to the live rounds, the Got Talent show want their live rounds to be as successful as possible. They want it to be a really good variety show. And so because of that, they'll help you. So we had a lot of directors and a lot of producers for the week and a half, 2 weeks that we're over in LA working with America's Got Talent. We had so many people helping and watching Ryland's act over and over again, and then suggesting different things. Well, you know what? You need to speed this section up here. You need to slow this down here. You know, enunciate more here. You need to do this. Is this this really the best trick for this point? You know, and they were working really hard with us because, and they were helping with wardrobe. You know, we had wardrobe, we had this, we had that, we had the other. There were a lot of rehearsals, a lot of tech rehearsals, a lot of camera rehearsals, camera blocking. It's a completely different thing when you get through to the live rounds. But when you're doing the audition, it's all on you. You're going to turn up, you're going to do the audition on stage, you're going to get the judges' comments, and then you're going to cross your fingers that you do well, and you get put through to the next round. If you get through to the next round, that's where you're going to have a lot of help and support. Okay, so the next thing that I would say is when you go to the auditions, have a semi-final piece ready to pitch. Because the first thing that's going to happen when you come off, if you get 4 yeses, is you're going to have your producer come over to you and say, brilliant, we're going to get in touch. And we're going to get in touch about what happens next. And what they're going to do is over the next 2 to 3 months, depending on when you're auditioned, they're going to decide if you're one of the 55 acts that are going to go through to the next round. And a lot of the time, it's based on not just how well you did, but what you're planning to do in the next round. So if you turn around and you go, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do, to be honest, you know, maybe more of the same. If you haven't got a specific plan, then, because again, the producers are wanting to have the best possible show that they can be. They need to see and visualize what your act's going to be in the live rounds. And if you can't tell them what you're going to do, and don't forget, there's probably going to be 300, 400, 500, 600 people that have got 4 yeses, or 3 or 4 yeses, and they need to decide out of all of those acts, they need to whittle it down to 55. If you can turn around, and if you look at America's Got Talent, for example, I knew exactly what I wanted Ryland to do in the semi-finals. I was able to turn around literally the next day and say to them, right, okay, this is what I envisage for the semi-finals. This is what I envisage. I want to have people having envelopes. I want to have pictures. I want to have this. I want to have that. I want to have this moment with a Lego and the helicopter and blah, 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 blah. I want all of this to happen. I was able to lay it out and storyboard it for them and sent them over a storyboard and a script. And I said, this is how it's going to play out. So now when they're discussing the acts, we've given ourselves, or Ryland's given himself, a competitive advantage over all the other acts because we've literally laid down exactly what we want them to do. And I did the research and I made sure that what I was suggesting had never been seen on Got Talent before. So now they have been presented with an act that's very different. He's already done really well in the auditions, and now he's I've presented to them, this is exactly what we're going to do in the semi-finals. And then we sent videos of what it would look like and mock-up shots of various different bits. And hey, this is what the final reveal is going to look like. And it changed over time, but I was able to get them everything that they needed so that when everybody was discussing which acts go through, Ryland had a very good chance of going through because we'd put ourselves into a good position. So the point is, have a semi-final act that's really good, that's unique, that's different, that's ready to be pitched immediately so that if you do well, you're there. Okay, the next point I'm going to make is be prepared for changes to take place during the live rounds. So not so much in the auditions, but a little bit, but definitely in the live rounds. Things are going to change around leading up to the live rounds. And when you're there, you're normally there for a week beforehand, things are going to change around even more. And the reason that happens is because, look, I've heard people online say, oh, AGT, BGT are trying to make you look bad. They're trying to change things around, put you off guard. That's not the case at all. They want your act to be the best possible act that it could possibly be. They really do. And they're going to give you help and advice and support to make it as good as it can be. But they also need to make it work on live television. So on America's Got Talent, for example, when we went over, Ryland's act was 5 minutes, 50 seconds. And they were like, that's just not going to work because there's lots of moments where it's going to take even longer. That 5 minute, 50 seconds could very easily turn into 9 minutes. We really need it at 3 minutes because then it'll probably be about a 5.5 minute act. And that's perfect. So they were working with us at cutting stuff out and like, right, okay, changing scripts around a little bit, which was a pain for Ryland because he was having to relearn scripts, but the advice they were giving us was really great advice based on their knowledge of what works on a Got Talent stage versus what doesn't work on a Got Talent stage. And, the producers are going to be working with you. If you're in the UK, Russ is going to be working with you to make sure that your act is perfect for that Got Talent stage. And you want to make sure that you're listening to them because they want you to succeed. They don't want to have all of their acts buzzed in the live rounds. They don't. So they want want you to succeed. And the way that they're going to make you succeed is by making sure that your act is the best it can be. But it means that there's going to be a lot of changes, and you have to be prepared for that. It's going to be very stressful when you get into the live rounds. The next point is, and if you want to go really far, I don't know personally whether this helps or not, but one thing that me and Ryland and Matt made sure that we did is we're a joy to work with. So anytime they wanted anything, it was sent back immediately. They want a video of something, it's sent back immediately. When we were over there, we were doing everything that we needed to do. We were going above and beyond, because during the audition process and during the semi-finals, because we wanted to be the perfect act, so that when they were deciding who was going to go through to the next round, you know, we kind of thought, well, you know, if we're really good to work with and we don't give them any hassle or any crap at all, there's a very good chance that they're going to want to work with us, you know, and that just is an extra thing that they can take into consideration when they're making the decision. So be a joy to work with. Do not be a diva. Okay, a couple more points. The first one is document everything. This is an incredible journey that you're going to be going on if you do decide to do it. And who knows how long it's going to last. It might just be the auditions. It might be further. It might be more. You never know. You could be the next Killian O'Connor, who came third in the entire country and just killed it. And now he's just performing all over the world. I mean, it's just inspirational. But you want to document everything, because this is a journey you want to remember. And you want to look back at it. So take lots of videos, take lots of photos, remember exactly what it is that you've done, because in 10 years' time, you're going to be looking back at those photos and remembering what an amazing experience was. And you're going to be regretting it if you don't document everything. Okay, so the next point is try not to be nervous. Very difficult to say, right? But try your absolute best not to be nervous. It's a very nerve-wracking situation, performing on stage, performing in front of thousands of people live. You're going to be nervous, but try not to be nervous. Look into techniques that help you be less nervous. It's really important that your nerves don't show when you're performing on stage. It's really important, because else your performance is going to suffer and you're not going to do as well. You really need to think about how to manage the nerves, because no matter how experienced you are, nerves are going to happen and you need to manage them. So look into ways of managing your nerves, and that comes back to having stage experience, because a big part of not being as nervous is by making sure you've got experience performing in this sort of environment. Okay, the next point is have fun. You know, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be difficult. You know, there's going to be a lot of times where you want to quit. It's hard work, but have fun. It's going to be one of the most fun things that you ever do, especially if you get further along in the competition. You're going to have a lot of fun. Make sure that you remember this, because you're going to look back at it and you're going to look back and you're going to be really glad that you did it. Maybe not, depending on what happens. But again, that comes down to the risk. But if you do decent, you're going to look back with fond memories. So you may as well have fun in the moment. The final point is don't quit. Never give up. Let's say that you didn't go through. Let's say you got buzzed. Doesn't stop you from going back the next year or the next year or the next year. Don't give up. If this is something you really want to do, and remember, I talked at the very beginning about knowing why you want to do this. If you really want to do this and you think that you can be successful on Got Talent, don't let one bad audition put you off. There's a million reasons why your audition maybe didn't go as well. Use it as a learning point. Don't give up. Go back the following year and keep going back until you get it right. Keep going back until you get those 4 yeses and you get into the live rounds. Because if it's something that you want to do, having a bad experience isn't going to change that. So there you go. That's another review show in the bag. It's not a review show, is it? I'm sorry. That's another video in the bag. For everybody that's asked about my advice on Got Talent, that's what I've got. I hope it helped. And I hope you guys, if you are deciding to do a Got Talent show, whether it's America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, or anything else, I hope you have a fantastic time. And I hope you seriously consider doing it. If you're in the UK, the biggest point I can give you is contact Russ Stevens. If you're outside of the UK, speak to a consultant, somebody who's got some experience in this field. Don't try and do it on your own. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you entered Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent or another talent show? I'd love to know about it. Let me know. How did you do? Have you got any advice that you want to share? Let me know in the comments down below. You want to see more videos like this? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Don't forget you can join the Netrix by going to www.thenetrix.com. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.